Over to the phones we go. Always enjoy talking to the experts at Illinois Policy because, well, they're experts and they know their stuff and, well, they enlighten us on things that we're a little confused about. And Kristina Rasmussen, who's president and chief operating officer, is taking time out of her busy day to join us. Kristina, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. It's pretty clear skies down here in Springfield. Not a lot of fog.
No, just, the thunderclouds that appear over the Capitol Dome at times.
Those never go away.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's meteorological or more political that's happening. All right.
Self-created.
The grand bargain is making the news quite a bit this morning. We're catching it during newscasts and all that. And for people who, everybody leads a busy life. Here in Illinois, we're kind of used to the drumbeat of bad news following more bad news. So I can't blame people for kind of tuning out things. But for for people who are unaware, can you give us a thumbnail on what the grand bargain is that's being discussed?
It's really simple. It's neither grand nor is it a bargain. It's essentially the attempt to balance the state budget by lowering the household incomes of private sector families in Illinois. In essence, taxing working families a lot more, both income sales taxes and all sorts of other taxes, to bail out Springfield's mess, to bail out Chicago's mess. And we're being told that this is supposedly a compromise grand bargain. There were a couple of Republican members of leadership working on it, not very many, because most Republicans looked at this and saw this was a terrible idea. Some Democrats as well. And even though it doesn't seem to get much traction because the ideas in it are pretty terrible, they keep bringing it back to life and try a new iteration every week. It's like a zombie bill, and it's bad news for Illinois.
Well, I love the idea about, right off the backs of the middle class. Let's see if we can make, lower what you have coming into the house, and that'll make things look a lot better. It's just like, if more people would leave the workforce, we'd have 100% employment.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's a good thing. And all of this comes along with no essential reform.
Yeah, and that's what's really frustrating about this, right? There are a lot of people out there who would say, okay, I don't want a tax hike, but if you're actually going to fix things with the structural reforms that we need, the economic reforms we need, okay, let's talk. That's not it. And what's really dangerous is that since the Great Recession, personal income growth in Illinois has actually been the second slowest in the nation. Only Nevada has had a worse time than us. So whatever little gains families have made since the Great Recession, this would just wipe it out by having families send more into Springfield. And what would they get for it? Well, they would get more government spending, more government borrowing, window dressing when it comes to some of the structural reforms that we need. That's just not what people want, nor is it what they deserve. And what's been so frustrating is to see, specific senators will want a component of the package, so they're willing to vote for things that normally they would never go along with to get that one component because they're trying to wrap everything into this omnibus bill. I think it's better to break things apart and do one by one rather than to get people in line with things that they know are bad for Illinois.
Spending time with Kristina Rasmussen from Illinois Policy, IllinoisPolicy.org. That should be a site that you have right up there very high on your bookmarks, and you go there every single day because the information that they provide you and the digging and the looking at numbers that they do, you're not going to find equaled elsewhere. So make sure Illinois Policy is part of the way you get your day started. Well, the one thing I would hope for is plenty more casinos, because I really think that's the key to getting our state back on track, Kristina.
Yeah.
I don't think you agree.
I think I would probably look for a growing economy in a number of sectors.
Oh, you're old school about these things, are you?
That might be a stronger way to move forward, right? A casino might be a Band-Aid for certain areas, but that's not what's going to bring the economy roaring back, where all of a sudden Illinois is a destination state where jobs and companies are pouring in. Instead, what do we have happen? People fleeing over the Wisconsin border to build new factories up there. So we want jobs of all sorts in Illinois, and unfortunately, measures like that aren't going to be the big solution that we need.
So you don't think loose slots trump state solvency then?
I would like balanced budgets, pension funds that aren't consistently underwater. And, to get there, you need to have household incomes rising across the state. And to get that, you need a growing economy. And what do you need to do to grow the economy? Change the public policies that are getting in the way, the high taxes, the high regulation, the anti-business attitude, the anti-worker attitude, quite frankly, that we have in Illinois. That should be the number one focus of what state legislators are doing down in Springfield, not figuring out how they can massively increase taxes on people across the state.
One of the other things that I noted a piece here on at Illinois Policy, 10 reasons Illinois' grand bargain fails taxpayers. The one I looked at, bailout of CPS pensions.
That's right. So the pension system in Chicago is in terrible shape, right? They want cash, and this proposal would have sent more than $200 million to Chicago to bail out their system. I think that's wrong, right? If they've got a pension system that's in distress, we should be passing pension reform rather than just throwing good money after bad, because we know it's not ultimately going to fix the problem. But, that's the kind of stuff that was in this grand bargain. And again, I would ask, is it grand and is it a bargain to have state taxpayers bailing out Chicago? The answer is very simple, and it's a big old no.
And speaking of simple, Kristina, a lot of us sit around the kitchen table as we go through the bills, and you look at what's coming into the house, what's going out of the house. And what I'm looking at here, they plan to borrow $7 billion to pay down our unpaid bills. This is basically, okay, I'm at home, I look at my wife and go, gosh, honey, the visa's really maxed out. Let's dump all that onto an American Express, and that way that one's clear, we can start spending again.
Yeah, right? I mean, they're saying this is so responsible, we're going to borrow to pay off our debt. And that's supposed to pass as a solution in Springfield. Now they'll say, well, maybe we can get a better interest rate and we don't have to pay penalties, fine. But that was one of the big frustration for taxpayer watchdogs looking at this grand bargain, is that there wasn't the spending cuts we need to make sure we're not just racking up the bills again next year, right? So they were going to tax a bunch more and then spend all that money, borrow to pay off the debt, but you're not setting yourself up for long-term solvency. So we did see Senator Bill Brady introduce some cuts yesterday as a way to try to balance out the tax hikes. Still going through those, trying to get a good understanding of, are they legit, what's in there. But at least someone was proposing some spending cuts, because this first couple of versions had practically nothing, if anything, and we're supposed to accept that. And thank goodness there are folks out there who look through this stuff and say, it's not going to fly. You're not going to do that to us again.
I've heard a couple people in the political realm saying, no, wait a minute. Don't put a torpedo in this too quick. We've got a great property tax freeze built into it. I know you don't agree with this.
Yeah, right? So we have the highest property taxes in the nation, and we're supposed to be happy if they freeze them in place. You're just locking in super high property taxes, right?
Right.
What we should be doing is reducing property taxes. And how do you do that? You give local governments freedom to operate in a way that's more efficient and effective, instead of hamstringing them from Springfield with all of these crazy regulations and rules and mandates. So rather than just freezing our already way too high property taxes, they should be going down. Now, they were saying, well, we'll trade you a freeze in property taxes for a massive income tax increase, a massive expansion of the sales tax, and we're supposed to think that's a good deal.
Right.
So
we're not going to take that money from your right pocket anymore. We want it from your left pocket. See, it's not so painful that way.
I know. And again, this is why when, these ideas were taken to voters and people polled on it, they polled terribly, right? Everyone can see what's going on. It's a joke. So that pushback from voters calling their legislators, saying, no way, no thank you, senators, that really did make a difference, slowed things down. But like I said, it's a zombie, and they keep bringing it back to life, because Springfield's answer is always going to be more money from you, higher taxes for you. And until someone stops that, that's what they're going to keep reverting back to.
Spending time with Kristina Rasmussen from Illinois Policy, illinoispolicy.org. And then this piece points out something really, really interesting. This will drive more people out of Illinois. Paul Simon Public Policy Institute poll found 47% of us here in Illinois want out. 20% report they're likely to get out. Biggest reason? Taxes.
Absolutely. And the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute is not some conservative outlet.
No.
Center left, if, heading in that direction. And even their polling finds that people want to leave, and they want to leave primarily because of taxes. Yet we still have people out there saying, no, people aren't leaving, and they're certainly not leaving because of taxes. Think how many times you've talked to friends or families or neighbors, and people are like, gosh, is there a future for me in Illinois? And young people in particular are getting out of here so fast. We're going to be coming out with a new report soon detailing just how quickly millennials are abandoning the state, because you know what? They don't want to be saddled with the debt for the generations in front of them that they had no part of putting into place, and that they're certainly not going to benefit from. They're not going to be pulling in those lavish pensions from state government. And so we need to be thinking about what can we do to make Illinois an attractive state where young people want to stay and grow and raise their families, because we're going to have longer problems over the long run if we don't tackle that.
And you got Baghdad Bob basically going, oh, no. People aren't leaving. People love it here. More people. Actually, people want to come here. We're leading the Midwest in outbound migration. Another great piece that I read at your site, illinoispolicy.org.
Yeah, and the numbers don't lie. I mean, these are government statistics. They're pretty solid. They come off of tax returns. So, we know when people are filing in Illinois, and all of a sudden they're filing in another state like Wisconsin or Indiana. And so the question is, what's the policy driving it? The people are telling us via poll and other avenues, it's because of the taxes. We want out. You've got to tackle the cost of, that government imposes on people living and working here, rather than just raising it higher and higher and higher whenever the politicians in Springfield want to be bailed out. That's what we've got to fix.
I think one of the great things, too, is while you can sit here and critique what's going on with the grand bargain and take it apart piece by piece, a lot of people go, oh, yeah, anybody can tear things apart. Do you have a solution? You do have a solution that people can actually go to your website and see. Budget Solutions 2018.
Yeah, so a lot of people said it's impossible to balance the budget without massive tax hike. We said, okay, really? Are you sure about that?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, exactly. And so we dove into the budget, all the various components, the different areas of spending, tackled some of those big dollar items, and guess what? There is a pathway forward. It involves some tough choices. I'm not going to lie to you. But, if it's spending reforms that are long overdue and that people are open to, according to the polls that we've been seeing, as opposed to keeping everything the same, the dysfunction in place, and taxing people more, guess what? When faced with that choice, a lot of people are willing to say, you know what, I'll take some hard spending choices if it means that Springfield doesn't once again dip into my wallet.
Exactly. I'm going to put up with a number of cloudy days if you can promise me some sunlight is coming down at the end of the line.
So it can be done. Folks who say that it can't be done just don't want to do it, right? They have an easy answer. That easy answer for them is tax increases. But, we're getting to a point, like you said, where so many people are leaving and so many people are aware of just how high taxes are in Illinois that they're pushing back. And, we hear from taxpayers across the state every day saying, please do something. Don't let them do this again. And that's a big part of what we do at Illinois Policy Institute.
Yes, get the information out there. And you guys, the information is available to you. IllinoisPolicy.org. Read up on the grand bargain. Check out the Budget Solutions 2018 or a ton of other things that Illinois Policy offers you every single day. Kristina, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy day. I always appreciate the expertise and the great sense of humor, too.
Take care. Thanks so much.
We'll see you.